Good morning from CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Ralph Wenke. This is Daybreak Saturday. The former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson has spent his last night in jail for a rape conviction 3 years ago. CNN's Jeff Flock is standing by at the Indiana Youth Center in Plainfield, where Tyson is about to be released. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning to you, Ralph. This has been home to Mike Tyson for the past 1,095 days. We believe now that it will only be his home for a few more moments, perhaps in the next half hour sometimes, perhaps as soon as 5 or 10 minutes away. Mike Tyson expected to emerge from here. An international gathering has assembled outside this prison to take a look. Perhaps you can see it in the dark. Dawn has not yet approached here in Indiana. This is Plainfield, Indiana, outside Indianapolis. Perhaps we can see another camera trained on the front door. That is the door from which Mike Tyson is expected to emerge very shortly. Not clear yet what exactly Mr. Tyson will do when he leaves. Clearly he has some more business to do. He has probation of 4 years to serve. He also must pay for his own psychotherapy once he gets out of prison, court-ordered psychotherapy, and he has 100 hours of community service to do. Mike Tyson is believed at this hour to be packing his final belongings that he had assembled here at the Indiana Youth Center, packing them in a cardboard box. We are told that if he, in fact, ate breakfast this morning, he had cream of wheat, blueberry coffee cake, some coffee, and grape juice, but he often, we are told, skips breakfast. Let's take a look overnight now. Some pictures shot overnight showing some folks who came to visit overnight. You will recognize one of them, Don King, perhaps the man with the very familiar hair. Some speculation about whether Don King was going to continue to be part of Mike Tyson's life. It certainly seems that he will be. He was accompanied by a woman believed to be Monica Teresa Turner, 28 years old, a Georgetown University medical school student. She is believed to be Mike Tyson's girlfriend. Let's take a look now back some 1,095 days ago, back in March of 1992, as Mike Tyson, some of the last pictures of Mike Tyson, as he was incarcerated on that date in downtown Indianapolis. Mike Tyson at the time given a 6-year sentence for having raped a Miss Black America beauty pageant contestant. He, as we said, has done 1,095 days of that sentence. On the inside, what did he do? Well, one thing we know he did not do, he did not box. Against the rules here. No boxing for Mike Tyson, but we are told that he is in excellent shape. We are told that he has shed as many as 50 pounds from that day when you saw those pictures of him being incarcerated. He is said to be now about 210 or perhaps 215 pounds. We are told also that he is now sporting a tattoo on one of his biceps, a tattoo of Mao Zedong. We are told that during his time in incarceration, he has converted and is now a Muslim, and there is some speculation that perhaps he will go and perhaps offer a prayer when he leaves here. Other speculation is that he will, as quickly as possible, exit Indiana and get out of this state as quickly as possible. Let's take one more peek, if we can, on our other camera, David. I don't know what we're seeing. We're seeing the door, I guess, as everyone here, an international contingent of media and others outside the gate, outside the range of our cameras, just onlookers coming to hope and glimpse Mike Tyson, wait for this anticipated release. Ralph, back to you.
Jeff, it's my understanding that the royal treatment is going to continue after he gets out of jail. He's going to get in a limousine, and then he'll be taken to the airport where a chartered plane will be taking him back to his home in Ohio. Is that correct?
That is what we believe, certainly. It's not the treatment that most of the people that are released from the Indiana Youth Center get, but it is the treatment we believe Mike Tyson will get. Obviously, there has been speculation that his boxing career will continue, speculation that his first fight could net anywhere up to $30 million. So I think it's fair to say that the red carpet is going to be rolled out, at least on the outside, Ralph.
He's also got to be very careful, does he not, Jeff? If he gets into any more trouble, there's a possibility that he could go back to prison for another 3 years, could he not?
That is correct. He would have to do the remainder of the sentence, a 6-year sentence. He's done, as we reported, 1,095 days, 4 years of probation. He will be supervised by the Ohio Probation Board. They'll be keeping an eye on him. He's believed to be headed back to Ohio, although it's unclear where exactly he will leave. But you're absolutely right. Mike Tyson will, as they say, need to keep his nose clean.
All right, Jeff Flock in Plainfield, Indiana. Jeff, of course, is going to stand by as soon as Mike Tyson is released. We will go back there with live coverage. Now, a new CNN Time magazine poll shows differing views among whites and African Americans about whether Mike Tyson did indeed get a fair trial. 73% of African Americans surveyed think Tyson was treated unfairly, compared with 30% of whites. 54% of white respondents said Tyson's trial was fair, compared to the 30% who said it was not. Only 18% of the African Americans questioned thought Tyson got a fair trial, compared to the 73% who said the former heavyweight champ did receive unfair treatment. Right now, we understand that former boxing champion Mike Tyson is about to leave his jail, and CNN's Jeff Flock is standing by in Plainfield, ready to tell us all about it. Jeff?
Yes, Ralph, Mike Tyson's released from prison now after 1,095 days, just moments away. We were told by officials of the Indiana Youth Center here outside Indianapolis, here in Plainfield, Indiana, that Mike Tyson will be emerging sometime in the next 2 moments. We see him inside now. Mike Tyson surrounded by an entourage. Looking for Don King. I do see Don King. This is the Mike Tyson entourage now emerging from the prison. After, as we said, 1,095 days, a number of people have come, international press contingent as well. As you can see, one of his bodyguards trying to shield Mike Tyson from view, and I don't think we're going to get much of a picture of him. John Horn, I see there. I see Rory Holloway, two of his longtime friends. There's Don King. You see Mike in the white cap. A very brief picture of Mike Tyson. Don King now entering the limousine as well. That's John Horn right behind him. And Rory Holloway in the white shirt now, as you see, entering the limousine as well. Those are two of his longtime friends. Of course, Don King, his longtime promoter. Mike Tyson with the white cap, we are told, has converted and is now a Muslim. Speculation, or I should say a report, that his new Muslim name will be Malik. Unclear about whether or not he will fight with that name or not, and unclear about whether he will fight or not at all. But now, for whatever the future holds for him, with a lead car and a limousine and cars to follow, Mike Tyson leaves the Indiana Youth Center with the tinted glass. We don't get very much of a picture, but after 1,095 days spent here, this has been his home. By most accounts, not a tremendously comfortable one. It will now be much more comfortable. You can see the cars begin now to make it toward the gate. Outside the gates of the youth center, hundreds, by my guess, people, onlookers outside there to cheer as he goes by. Perhaps you can hear in the air television news choppers that will document where he goes from here. Mike Tyson is an international celebrity, primarily by dint of his boxing abilities, but obviously some international notoriety as a result of the trouble that he got himself into here in Indianapolis in 1991 at the Miss Black America beauty pageant, accused of and convicted of raping one of those beauty pageant contestants. Mike Tyson now on his way, we believe, on his way, we believe, to the airport. Perhaps we can go back to another camera, and perhaps we can also go back to the picture of Mike Tyson, that very brief picture that we had as the choppers circle about us. That brief picture of Mike Tyson emerging from the prison and entering the limousine. We saw him with the white cap. Again, we believe he is converted and is now a Muslim, and he begins a new life after these 1,000 or more days behind bars. Believed to be on the way to the airport, believed to be on his way to a charter flight that will take him back to Ohio, where he has 4 years probation to do. He's got 100 hours of community service to do. He has psychotherapy ordered by the court to do. He'll have to pay for that himself, the court ordered. And then it remains to be seen what the sports future holds for Mike Tyson. He, of course, the one-time world heavyweight champion, believed still by many to be the finest fighter, heavyweight fighter in the world. Unclear about how soon he'll go back to that, but there is speculation that perhaps when he does, maybe $30 million awaits him for a first fight. At any rate, the news is at this hour is that he has left and he is gone from the Indiana Youth Center. His time is done, and Mike Tyson is on his way to begin a new life. For now, I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from Plainfield, Indiana.
Jeff, I got to tell you that that scene we just watched a moment ago was a little bit bizarre from where we are. I had the feeling that we were watching a presidential motorcade. Any idea why they tried to shield Tyson from view?
No less bizarre from where I stand, Ralph. No, obviously we did get a small glimpse of him there. I do have a statement released by Mike Tyson just a bit ago, and it says, I am very happy to be out. I don't know, Sean, if we can see it. I am very happy to be out and on my way home, he says. I want to thank everyone for their support. I will have more to say in the future. I'll see you all soon. Signed Mike Tyson on this date, March 25th, 1995. I presume, Ralph, will be hearing more from him, as he indicates here in this statement, in the future. As we reported, it is believed that he has converted. There was some speculation that perhaps he would stop at a mosque on his way out of town and offer a prayer of thanksgiving for his release from incarceration. But obviously a very wild scene with his longtime friends Rory Holloway and John Horn surrounding him, and a bodyguard with an attempt to shield him from view. I don't know. Maybe it's all a fight promotion. Maybe there's something in the cards about that. At this point, we don't know, Ralph.
Somehow I feel you have it right. Jeff Locke in Plainfield, Indiana. Thank you very much, Jeff. Right now, we're going to go to CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Ralph Winke. This is Daybreak Saturday. Former heavyweight champ Mike Tyson walked out of an Indiana prison this morning with a chance to resume his multi-million-dollar boxing career. CNN's Jeff Locke was there when Tyson was released just over an hour ago, and he joins us now from Plainfield, Indiana. Jeff, good morning.
We are live here outside the Indiana Youth Center where, I guess now about 45 minutes ago, Mike Tyson emerged a free man after 1,095 days. I'm going to be joined by Phil Slavens of the Indiana Youth Center in a moment to talk about Mike Tyson's last few moments inside and perhaps something about the course of his last 1,000 days of his life. First, let's take a look as Mike Tyson emerged just a short time ago, as we said about 45 minutes ago. He was surrounded by a contingent of bodyguards, longtime friends, both Rory Holloway and John Horn, two of his longtime friends. Also in evidence, Don King, a familiar face and perhaps crop of hair. His longtime promoter, unclear about what role Don King will play in Mike Tyson's future, but clearly it appears, based on his appearance here, that he will play some sort of role. We're going to talk in a moment with Reverend Charles Williams, a confidant of Mike Tyson's, perhaps for some light on that issue. But first to Phil Slavens, you said now we're back to normal here. This was not normal these last 1,095 days.
A little different. We knew it would be, we'd be in a fishbowl with a world celebrity in our institution.
Did you treat him different?
We tried very, very hard not to treat him different, and that's what he preferred. He preferred to be treated just as any other offender.
How would you characterize him today as he was released?
Relieved, pretty much at peace. I talked to him earlier this morning. He indicated he slept well last night, which is a little unusual for a person the night before they're going home. When I saw him this morning, he was reading Ring magazine and waiting for whoever's going to pick him up to pick him up.
Rehabilitated?
Ask me in 10 years. I don't think he'll be back incarcerated again. He certainly has a stable placement. He has a place to live. He has the ability to make money. I don't think he will get himself involved in anything that will get himself incarcerated again. I would be very surprised if he were to come back.
Routine this morning, pack his gear up, what else?
Just like any other offender, he was awakened around 5 o'clock, gathered up his personal effects, came to the release coordinator's office, signed 2 very brief forms, was given a check for the money he still had on his offender trust fund account. And,
how much?
I have no idea what it was. It's whatever he had left that he hadn't spent, and waited for someone to come pick him up.
Now you say someone to come pick him up. A lot of people have been visiting over the course of these last 1,000 days, people that normal inmates perhaps don't have. Give me a roster.
Visiting lists are confidential, but the people who have been in the media that have been here, that obviously have been here, MC Hammer has been here, James Brown, Riddick Bowe was here last week. Don King has been here to see him. Whitney Houston, her husband Bobby Brown, have been here. People are visited by their friends and relatives. His friends are the who's who of the sports and entertainment world, so that is who came to see him. Not terribly unexpected.
And a rough treatment in there?
No, it's you pretty much get the treatment you put out, and he did his level best to be an ordinary offender and asked to be treated that way.
Good. Bill Slavens, appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time with us. Let's take a look now at Mike Tyson, perhaps the last time we saw him free before this day. That was back in March of 1992. That was when Mike Tyson was incarcerated. As we look at those pictures, I want to bring in Reverend Charles Williams. Reverend Williams, can I get you to come on over and talk something about the future of Mike Tyson? Now, Reverend Williams is a confidant of Mike Tyson's. Saw him yesterday. Phil Slavin's not a close friend of his. You are a friend of his. How do you characterize him?
Well, I think you're going to see a very vintage Mike Tyson. He has learned a lot while in prison. He has studied. He has looked within himself to find out who Mike Tyson really is. He's a very special kind of person. I think the whole world is going to see a real strong and changed Mike Tyson in the future.
Now, let's put this in some perspective for our viewers. You ran the Black Expo, is that correct? The fateful Black Expo that Mike Tyson ran into all this trouble around. As you look back on that, is there anything you'd have done differently? What goes through your mind when you think back to that time? What's your view? What's your spin on it? Unfair? The conviction unfair? The whole mess unfair? What's your spin?
Well, you know, I think the conviction is unfair. I believe Mike Tyson is innocent. I think he's apologized for his behavior, but I think anybody understands that young men at the age of 23 all across this country are kind of promiscuous, and I think that that's what that situation was like. It was unfortunate that it happened during Indiana Black Expo, which is the largest African-American event, but, you know, I think that now that they look back, sometimes it's destiny, and I think out of this grows something good. And I think we're going to see something good in Mike Tyson.
Now, we saw, I know Mike Tyson had been baptized by Reverend Jesse Jackson, a Christian. I see you saw this morning him emerge with a white cap. We've heard reports that he is now a Muslim. What do you know about that, and what's that mean for his future?
Well, it doesn't really mean anything except that he's chosen Islam as his religion. And that's, we all have that personal choice. Mike has been studying Islam the past 3 years. If he has proclaimed that he's now a Muslim, then that's the greatest thing that could happen to Mike Tyson. I think it'll help his discipline, as he's already has been showing that discipline over the course of the 3 years, and I wish him the best of luck. He's a great individual.
You think it's going to be a positive future for Mike Tyson? You don't think he'll be back here?
Well, anytime you have a relationship with God, it has to be a positive. So I don't expect that you have to worry about Mike Tyson ever coming back to anybody's prison.
Reverend Williams, I appreciate the time. Thanks very much. We want to talk to you some more later. That is the latest from here. Mike Tyson now a free man after 1,095 days in incarceration in this facility that you see now with the morning sun shining on it here outside Indianapolis. Mike Tyson now on his way back home, back to a new life. What the new life holds, we can only guess. For now, I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from Plainfield, Indiana.
At CNN Center in Atlanta, Sports Close-Up is next. First, the look at the stories we're following this hour. The former boxing champ Mike Tyson is a free man this morning. He emerged from an Indiana prison after serving 3 years on a rape conviction. He is said to have converted to Islam while in prison. He wore a beige skull cap. He was surrounded by an entourage. His release gives him a shot at resuming his multi-million-dollar boxing career.
The breaking story this morning, former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson is now a free man. Tyson served 3 years of a 6-year sentence in Indiana for rape. CNN's Jeff Flock joins us live from outside the Indiana Youth Center in Plainfield, Indiana. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning to you, Darren. 1,095 days to be exact. This was home to Mike Tyson, this facility that you see behind me, but it is home no more. Let's take a look on about an hour and a half or so ago. Mike Tyson emerged from this facility surrounded by some people you may know. Check Don King there. You can spot him by the hair anywhere. He and some of Mike Tyson's longtime friends, as well as bodyguards surrounding him, attempting to shield him from reporters. Mike Tyson wearing a white cap. Mike Tyson, we are told, has converted to Islam, and we are told that he spent the last hour at a nearby mosque, the Islamic Society of North America Mosque, right nearby the prison here. Spent the last hour in prayer at the mosque. He is now, as we speak, on his way to the airport and on his way to a new life. What does the new life hold? That we don't know. Speculation about how soon or when he might return to the boxing ring. Speculation perhaps that first fight may net him as many as $30 million. Nothing from Mike Tyson today out loud, but a statement from Mike Tyson, and it reads as follows: I'm very happy to be out and on my way home. I want to thank everyone for their support. I will have more to say in the future. I'll see you all soon. Signed, Mike Tyson, March 25th, 1995. This is last day of incarceration on that 6-year rape sentence. Again, he did 1,095 days. That's the latest here from Plainfield, Indiana. I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live. Darren, back to you.
Okay, Jeff, thank you very much for that report. The challenge for Tyson now will be to rebuild a life that tended to spin out of control even before he went to prison. The boxing world is hungry for a true champion and not anxious to linger on Tyson's criminal past. The push now to put him back in the ring. But who will be in Tyson's camp and who will be that first opponent is still very much up in the air. Bob Lorenz takes a look at the choices in store.
Now come the questions. Who does he go with? Who's his first opponent? How good will he be? Will he be the Mike Tyson that everyone thinks he is or was?
I think it'll be bigger than when Muhammad Ali came back from his exile, forced by the U.S. government unjustly, as we remember, in the 60s, and then as Ali fought back in the 70s to resume his career. I think it'll eclipse that.
Ali returned and won the heavyweight title again. It's not yet officially known if Tyson will return to the ring, but there is an obvious lure to lace up the gloves again.
With Tyson out and fighting, that's going to create a lot of excitement in the heavyweight division. So not to mention, it brings a whole lot of money, and everybody want to make a little bit of it, including myself.
The question this time around is, how will the many millions be divided up, and who will be in on Tyson's share?
I think he would have Don involved in some manner, but that remains to be seen because there's other forces that are going around Tyson for the last 3 years since he's been in prison trying to get at him. A lot of promoters, managers, people trying to get into his ear.
King says he will be Tyson's promoter, but that Tyson as a business is the furthest thing from his mind.
I'm only concerned about him getting out and being free to have an intercourse with society, and then he chooses where he wants to go.
Tyson, I hope, will come out more in control of his own destiny. Maybe he'll come out and say, look, Don, you can promote, but this time I really am calling the shots.
Most experts agree that too many people wanting too much from Tyson too soon is the wrong way to go and potentially dangerous for the former champion.
I would take a slower path. I would want to see him work his way back into his top condition before taking on the major fights.
Like, he'll fight a complete stiff the first fight. The second fight, the guy might have a pulse. The third time, he might even have blood pressure. But I think they're going to bring him back gradually.
The lure of a huge payday may cloud that judgment, but one thing is crystal clear about Tyson's release.
He is a welcome breath of exciting air on the boxing landscape.
The guy did do his time, all right? I mean, and I don't think anybody's out there saying, hey, Tyson's a great guy and I can't wait to get him back. But basically, this guy is going to give boxing the shot of life that it needs again.
Bob Lorenz, CNN Sports.
Tyson might get to work on being a threat in the ring, but he knows he must behave outside the ring. If he gets into any more trouble with the law, he could have to go back up to prison for up to 3 more years.
Welcome to Daybreak Saturday. I'm Ralph Wenke. Mike Tyson is a free man. The former heavyweight champion emerged from prison 2 hours ago in Plainfield, Indiana. CNN's Jeff Flock is there. He has been following the story all morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning to you, Ralph. As we speak, Mike Tyson's plane now has just now taken off from the airport in Indianapolis. He is now in the air, his Learjet in the air. He has kissed Indiana goodbye. He is headed back to Ohio, where he will make his home, at least for the short time. As Ralph reported, it was just about 2 hours ago that Mike Tyson emerged from the Indiana Youth Center here, this facility behind me. He was surrounded by bodyguards, surrounded by some of his longtime friends, surrounded also by his longtime promoter, Don King. Mike Tyson wearing a white cap. Mike Tyson, we are told, has converted to Islam, and we're going to hear more about that in just a moment with someone who was praying with Mike Tyson at an Islamic mosque not far from here. But first, I am joined by Pam Patterson, spokesperson, I suppose I should say, for the Department of Corrections here in Indiana. Give me a sense for the last few hours of Mike Tyson in prison.
He had visitors from 6 to 9 last evening. He had prayer prior to that. At that time, he was sent back to his cell.
Former boxing champion Mike Tyson earned about 65 cents an hour. Today, he is free to resume a career that has earned him millions of dollars. Tyson was released from prison this morning after serving 3 years on a rape conviction. CNN's Jeff Flock has been following the story all morning, and he joins us now from Plainfield, Indiana, with the latest. Jeff?
Ralph, 1,095 days to be exact. This was Mike Tyson's home, the Indiana Youth Center behind me. Today, Mike Tyson is a free man. Pictures now out at the airport here in Indianapolis, where Mike Tyson took off in a private jet. We have been informed that he just landed moments ago in Youngstown, Ohio. He is on his way to his home in Ohio, where presumably he will spend some of the next amount of time. Pictures also of Mike Tyson emerging here. It was our first glimpse of Mike Tyson in, well, I guess 1,095 days. He had a 6-year sentence on his rape conviction, served those 1,095 days, emerged surrounded by former friends, longtime friends, I should say, surrounded by bodyguards and also by a familiar face and perhaps a familiar mop, Don King, all in evidence as he emerged from the prison here, entered a limousine, and began the road to his new life. I am joined by a man who tried his best to see that Mike Tyson didn't have to go to prison. Jim Voyles is one of the best-known defense lawyers in Indiana. He did his best, along with some co-counsel, failed. Mike Tyson, the future, where is it going?
Well, I think Mr. Tyson's going to return to Ohio, begin his boxing career again. I ultimately believe that he'll probably be a world champion.
Is it a different Mike Tyson this morning than it was when we saw him incarcerated in March of 1992?
Well, I think Mr. Tyson is an individual who has shown dedication, discipline. I think he will bring it to his current situation, and I think that, yes, you'll see an individual that will be more reserved, more thoughtful, and things that I have seen during the past 3 years.
I want to look at pictures of Mike Tyson during that trial back in it was February and March of 1992. At that time, did he believe that he was going to be convicted?
Well, I think that any of the conversations that Mike had with Mr. Fuller and Miss Beggs and myself.
Your co-counsel.
My co-counsel. Really, I was local counsel, and they were, Mr. Fuller and Miss Beggs were the chief counsel. And I think any individual who's on trial always is concerned during the course of the trial of the possible outcome, and I don't think Mr. Tyson was any different than anybody else. I'm sure hopeful, but concerned.
He's got a bright future in your view.
Yes, I think he does.
You know, I see just approaching our cameras here. Jim, thanks very much. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the time. This is Mohammed Sadiq. Didn't expect you to come by, sir. Yes. Thank you very much for coming over to our cameras.
This is Braxton, the former middleweight champion. This is, of course, Mel Blunt, the great player for Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's right. Some sports stars, but Mohammed Sadiq. Mike Tyson, I need you to tell me about his conversion. This is new information. Please tell me about it. How has it changed him?
Mike is a brand new man. Mike has sincerely given himself to God, has asked God to guide him, and God certainly has picked him up and guided him in a most miraculous way.
You prayed with him just hours ago here at a mosque nearby. What is his mood at this hour?
His mood is very sincere and very sensitive to his growth, his new plight in life. Mike is a brand new person. Mike's work inspired the likes of Muhammad Ali to be there to bow down with him.
He was there this morning, Muhammad Ali?
Hammer was there to bow down with him.
MC Hammer.
And we're honored to say that Don King, you all say a lot about Don King, but you can say what you want. But Don King got on his knees and prayed to God too. Roy Holloway prayed to God too, sincerely. Mm-hmm. And John Horn prayed to God too.
Mike's friends.
Not only Mike's friends, but friends of God. So let's give Don his due. Let's give Roy their due. Let's give John their due. But let's say, thank God for a man like Mike to inspire all of us to have this moment in America.
Fair enough. Mr. Sadiq, thank you very much.
My honor, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Blunt, thank you. Mr. Braxton, appreciate you joining us.
Muhammad
new name. Thank you. Thank you. That is the latest from here. This, again, was Mike Tyson's home for, about 1,000 days or so. It is a new Mike Tyson we hear that has emerged from here and now is on his way to his home in Ohio. We will continue to watch it. For now, I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from Plainfield, Illinois.
As we reported, Mike Tyson is out of prison. He's on his way to his home in Ohio. And one man who has followed Tyson for years is Steve Farhood. He is the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine. Good morning, Steve. What can we expect from Tyson in the coming weeks? Is he going to make an almost immediate return to the ring?
I don't think we'll see an immediate return. When you've been out for 3.5 years, as he has, he definitely needs to do a lot of work in the gym. I wouldn't anticipate a fight for at least 2 or 3 months.
We heard from somebody earlier this morning who had been following Tyson while he was in prison. They said he had been keeping in shape, that he has lost some weight. How much more work does he have to do to get in shape?
Well, we visited Mike in prison about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was really remarkable what he looked like. He was about 215 pounds, which is actually under his fighting weight. So he has that going for him. He will not have to shed a lot of pounds to get in fighting shape. However, 3.5 years out of the ring, he hasn't been hit, he doesn't have his timing, and he's done no boxing over that course of time. So, you know, he's going to need a good 8 to 12 weeks of gym work and sparring and some simulated fights before he actually gets into the ring.
Who is he most likely to fight when he finally does go back into the ring?
A lot of that will be determined by who promotes him. The name I hear most often is Peter McNeely, who is a heavyweight out of Boston, who has a glossy record of about 28-0, but hasn't fought anybody. And needless to say, because of the potential money down the road, whoever Tyson fights his first couple of times back, you can be sure they will be likely early knockout candidates.
Isn't McNeely one of Don King's fighters, though?
Yes, Peter McNeely was signed by King a couple of years ago, possibly for this very type of reason. If Tyson goes with King as his promoter, Don has a lot of heavyweights, and Tyson will fight 2 or 3 of them en route to fighting for one of the heavyweight titles.
King was obviously there. He was very obvious this morning when Tyson got out of jail. Do you think it's a pretty good chance that he's going to represent him?
It's been interesting that it's been sort of, Tyson's been quiet on that, but all signs point to that. Tyson, several months ago, actually named Rory Holloway and John Horn to be his co-managers. Both of them are King guys. So it seems that King is likely to have a major role, if not, just resume his role as Tyson's chief promoter.
What are the odds of Tyson taking another title down the road pretty soon?
Well, you know, in boxing, unfortunately, we have so many titles per division. Right now in the heavyweight division, there are really 4 titles to shoot for. And at least 3 of those 4 champions will be very vulnerable by the time Tyson fights them. George Foreman being one of them. And the chances, because there are 4 titles, the chances of Tyson regaining one of those titles is tremendous. Whether he can regain his former status as the only champion in the heavyweight division, that's a much tougher question to answer, and I have my doubts about that. But as far as Tyson winning one of the titles, sure, he'll be given the opportunity, if not more than one opportunity, to do that.
One final question. In a way, Tyson isn't completely a free man. He's going to have to watch himself very carefully. They say that one more misstep and he's back in prison for another 3 years. Who's going to watch over him?
Well, that's really, I think, the key to his entire future. Who will he surround himself with? If it's the same people, a lot of them Don King associates, that he surrounded himself with before he got into trouble, then I don't know. You know, how changed is Tyson? That remains to be seen. You'd think a fresh start would be critical here, and you'd think he'd need to change the cast of characters around him. That's one of the big, one of the biggest questions, and that very likely will relate to exactly to how he does in the ring.
Steve Farhood, editor-in-chief of The Ring magazine, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us this morning.
Thank you.
You bet. Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson is starting a new life today. He was released from an Indiana prison early this morning after serving 3 years of a 6-year sentence for rape. The boxing world is waiting to see if Tyson will put on his gloves again to attempt a comeback. Tyson is heading to his home in Youngstown, Ohio. He released this statement when he left prison this morning. "I'm very happy to be out and on my way home. I want to thank everyone for their support. I'll have more to say in the future. I'll see you all soon." In his first hours of freedom, former boxing champ Mike Tyson stopped at a mosque for prayer before heading to his home in Ohio. Tyson boarded a private jet in Indiana shortly after he was released from prison this morning. He served 3 years for raping a beauty pageant contestant. Tyson was surrounded by an entourage as he emerged from the Indiana Youth Center. His release gives him a chance to return to his multi-million-dollar boxing career. But fight watchers say that's going to take time.
We visited Mike in prison about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was really remarkable what he looked like. He was about 215 pounds, which is actually under his fighting weight. So he has that going for him. He will not have to shed a lot of pounds to get in fighting shape. However, 3.5 years out of the ring, he hasn't been hit. He doesn't have his timing, and he's done no boxing over that course of time. So, you know, he's going to need a good 8 to 12 weeks of gym work and sparring and some simulated fights before he actually gets into the ring.
Tyson issued a written statement saying that he was very happy to be out of prison and thanking people for their support.
First Iron Mike Tyson is a free man today after spending 1,095 days behind bars. Tyson was released from the Indiana Youth Center where he served his sentence for raping a teenage beauty pageant contestant. CNN's Jeff Locke has been there all morning. He joins us now with the latest. Jeff?
That's right, Joey. For more than 1,000 days, the Indiana Youth Center here behind me has been Mike Tyson's home, but at this hour, it is Mike Tyson's home no more. Mike Tyson is, at this hour, headed home because he's done his time. Shielded by bodyguards and wearing the white kufi of his newfound Muslim faith, Mike Tyson emerged from 1,095 days of prison to the eyes of the world. Choppers overhead record a scene that resembled a presidential motorcade.
Pull the window down!
Well-wishers greeting a fallen champion at his first stop, a Muslim mosque, for prayers of thanksgiving.
Mike is a brand new man. Mike has sincerely given himself to God, has asked God to guide him, and God certainly has picked him up and guided him in a most miraculous way.
Tyson himself said nothing publicly, bodyguards shielding him from view at every stop. He only released this statement, saying he was happy to be going home. I want to thank everyone for their support, the statement said. I will have more to say in the future. Rehabilitated?
Ask me in 10 years. I don't think he'll be back incarcerated again.
Tyson was incarcerated in March 1992 to begin serving a 6-year sentence for raping this Miss Black America beauty pageant contestant in Indianapolis in 1991. Sex he admits to but claims was consensual.
Well, I think I used bad judgment, and I had to deal with the circumstances.
Those who know him say dealing with the circumstances has made him a changed man.
I think that his approach to life, I think people will find it much different. I think he will resume his boxing career. I think he'll be a world champion again.
Jim Voyles was the attorney who represented Mike Tyson in his rape trial. He obviously thinks that Mike Tyson will fight again. Additional evidence to that, perhaps the evidence of Don King, his longtime promoter, Tyson's longtime promoter. He was with him at every stop today, at his side at every stop. Mr. Tyson has had some advice to get rid of Mr. King, but at this point it appears that he hasn't done that. Certainly Mike Tyson is expected to get back into the ring. One final picture that we'll leave you with, Mike Tyson arriving in Youngstown, Ohio as he heads back to his home in Ohio. Pictures now of that arrival there. Mr. Tyson's moves being chronicled every step of the way today by an international gathering of media as Mike Tyson heads to his home. That because Mike Tyson is an international celebrity, first for his boxing skills and perhaps now for this sad chapter in Mike Tyson's history, this chapter that now appears today to be over. We'll continue to watch it. I'm Jeff Locke, CNN, reporting live from Plainfield, Indiana.
For 3 years behind bars, Mike Tyson is a free man. The former heavyweight boxing champion has arrived at his estate about 45 miles outside Cleveland, Ohio. He gave a prayer of thanks this morning after leaving the Indiana prison where he served time for raping a beauty pageant contestant. Supporters say Tyson converted to Islam in prison. He released a statement saying he's happy to be out of jail. Some fans are hoping he'll be back in the ring soon.
I'm one of the few probably that feel he was unjustly accused. I think they made an example of him.
He's had a chance to really take things out there, and I think he's ready myself. I think he really want to prove something to the world.
He's back in Ohio, place where he belongs. He's the champ, #1. Always will be to you? Always will be the champ to me. I just can't wait to see him fight again.
And Tyson became the world's youngest heavyweight champion in 1986 at the age of 20.
Jerome Jurenovich, Headline Sports. Mike Tyson is a free man. After 3 years behind bars, the former heavyweight champion left an Indiana prison early this morning and stopped at a mosque before returning to his home in Ohio. Tyson is said to have converted to Islam during his incarceration.
Mike Tyson was greeted by supporters today outside a Muslim mosque. The former heavyweight boxing champion attended services there after being released from an Indiana prison. He served 3 years behind bars for raping an 18-year-old beauty pageant contestant. Upon emerging from the Indiana Youth Center, he was whisked away in a waiting limousine. Tyson flew by private jet to Ohio, where he has an estate about 45 miles from Cleveland.
Now on
on the early Sports Center. An early wake-up call brings freedom to the former champ.
With the opening of another chapter in the life of one of the most powerful punchers in boxing history, the debt is paid. The prison term over. 3 years ago tomorrow, Mike Tyson entered an Indiana penitentiary, having been convicted of rape and deviant sexual misconduct. On this day of his exit, the people around him were the same as ever, but something inside Tyson may have changed. Charlie Steiner has the story.
By the dawn's early light, Tyson's promoter Don King arrived in a stretch limousine, along with his managers Rory Holloway and John Horn. And with them, they brought a fresh change of clothes for prisoner 822335. He would wear denims no more. Nor would he be eating Salisbury steaks, last night's dinner in prison, or cream of wheat and a blueberry muffin, this morning's breakfast. Mike Tyson left before it was served. By 6:10, surrounded by his entourage, almost as if he seemed to be entering the ring, Tyson was leaving the prison, a free man for the first time in 3 years. Tyson's motorcade went directly to the Muslim mosque in Plainfield, barely 2 miles from the prison. The caravan followed. He prayed for about 30 minutes, along with 200 others, including another former heavyweight champion who once came back after a 3.5-year layoff. The service was led by Muhammad Sadiq, who had befriended Tyson and visited him daily while Tyson was imprisoned here.
He has taken into himself and taken upon himself the responsibility of trying to improve himself, better himself, represent himself in a more honorable way, carry himself in a way that he can have children and a family, to look upon his reputation as not as someone who had a terrible fall in Indianapolis, but someone who made a mistake, asked God's forgiveness, and wants to move on with his life.
Following a brief reception, Tyson left the mosque, and the motorcade was on its way again. Mike Tyson is now on his way home to suburban Cleveland. 15 minutes later, Tyson, along with his girlfriend Monica Turner and King and others, boarded a private jet and flew back to Ohio. 4 hours after his release from prison, Mike Tyson would be home again after 1,095 days away. Tyson wasn't the only prisoner released from the Indiana Youth Center on Saturday. Robert Cade, who did 5 years for armed robbery, was picked up by his mom. No cameras were there. I'm Charlie Steiner, ESPN, Plainfield, Indiana.
The woman Tyson raped, Desiree Washington, is continuing to pursue certification in elementary and special education. Her attorney today issued a statement, quote, "For nearly 4 years, she has attempted to pick up the pieces of her life and move on. The trauma of the rape has had a profound and lasting impact on her life," end quote.
Sneaked up on you and I, but you can be sure that from behind bars, Mike Tyson was counting the seconds until his release from prison. That came early this morning. The former heavyweight champion of the world woke up, read Ring magazine, and walked out. Our Charlie Steiner was among the 200 reporters, 4 news helicopters, and 5 satellite dishes there to greet him. Charlie, thank you. Desiree Washington, the woman Tyson was guilty of raping, declined comment today. Her lawyer spoke for her, saying in a statement that for nearly 4 years she has attempted to pick up the pieces of her life and move on. The trauma of the rape has had a profound and lasting impact on her life, end quote. They continue to pursue a civil suit against Tyson. And in a somewhat related story, one that was copyrighted in today's Dayton Daily News, 5 of the 12 jurors who convicted Tyson 3 years ago have developed doubts about his guilt now, based on information that came out following the trial. Brett.
Tyson is not talking, but everyone else is. Various published accounts on Monday suggest Tyson sent Don King away after the former champ arrived home on Saturday. The New York Post reported Tyson was upset that King brought in a TV camera crew into his home. There were reports King also ordered champagne, shellfish, and pork for the welcome home party. All 3 are forbidden by Islamic law. There are reports Tyson is about to change his name to Malik Abdul Aziz. And yet another report claiming Tyson had married his girlfriend in a Muslim ceremony in prison. 4 off-duty Indianapolis police officers are being questioned about their role in escorting Tyson's caravan from prison. Police reports say one of the 2 patrol cars carrying the officers was traveling at speeds exceeding 110 miles per hour. A police spokesman says the officers did not receive permission to use their cars in the caravan. All of this, and Mike Tyson's only been out of jail 3 days. Keith?
The last 3 days of Mike Tyson's life have been rather hectic. He has neither admitted nor denied the following laundry list of items, like that he married his girlfriend at a Muslim ceremony in prison, that he was thinking about changing his name to Malik Abdul Aziz, and that he has kicked Don King out as his promoter and out literally as in out of his house. That after King showed up with a Showtime television crew, and that according to another report, King had arranged for a welcome home feast, which was fine, including champagne and shellfish. The problem, both are forbidden by Islamic law.
Mike Tyson remains in seclusion inside the wrought iron fence surrounding his 66-acre estate in Southington, Ohio, amid reports that the former heavyweight champion will be holding a news conference of sorts, perhaps as early as this Thursday at the Gund Arena in Cleveland. The former champion inquired about the availability of the arena sometime today. Tyson apparently will read a statement and not answer any questions. Don King said today he would not be involved in the news conference. Asked about his relationship with Tyson, King said today, quote, "There is no comment to make on that. We'll deal with that in time."
There are dozens of questions about Mike Tyson, his boxing plans, his religion, his affiliation with Don King. Dozens of questions, but Tyson will not answer any of them. He will read a statement at a planned Thursday news conference at Gund Arena in Cleveland. Said an arena spokesperson who spoke with Tyson today, quote, "There will absolutely be no Q&A."
For the first time since he came home from prison last Saturday morning, Mike Tyson emerged from seclusion, albeit briefly today, to drive 30 minutes each way for a 50-minute meeting with his probation officer in Youngstown, Ohio. In what must have been a first for the probation office, a 3-car motorcade pulled up in front of the office. Tomorrow, Tyson will read a statement about his immediate future. As of late this afternoon, Tyson's promoter, Don King, wasn't sure if he would be in attendance or not. ESPN will have live coverage of Tyson's statement, whatever it is, at approximately noon Eastern time tomorrow.
Bob Lee live on the SportsCenter newsroom. In just a moment, Mike Tyson will meet the media at Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. No questions and answers are expected, but the former heavyweight champion is expected to read a statement to the press at which he may answer a number of the questions hanging fire about his career in boxing, who shall promote him, what his personal plans are, has he converted to the Islamic religion, will he change his name? So many questions around Mike Tyson. Again, the indications are that he shall not be answering questions, but there are several hundred members of the media on hand at the Gund Arena at the practice facility of the Cleveland Cavaliers, that in Cleveland, and some 24 camera crews on hand to record this event. And in approximately, we understand, less than a minute, Tyson will be out to read that statement. Yesterday in Youngstown, Ohio, he drove from his rural home in Ohio to Youngstown to meet with his probation officer. And Tyson will be serving 4 years of probation following his nearly 3 years in prison in Indiana. That meeting with the probation officer lasted for approximately 50 minutes. Now let's go to Cleveland.
Afternoon. In the last 3 years, I had the chance to reflect on my life and develop my mind, and I will continue my journey to making myself a better person so that I can help others. But I'm here today to make a statement about my future. There's been a lot of speculation about my plans, and here they are. I will fight again, and I want to confirm John Horn and Rory Holloway as my managers. And besides being my closest friends for many years, John and Rory has given me great advice in my professional career, and they will continue to be my managers. I also will confirm that Don King will continue to promote my fight. Don is the greatest promoter in the world, as we know, and I have chosen Showtime to be my television network. I have enjoyed my relationship with them both as a boxer and as a boxing commentator. I decided also to fight with the new MGM Grant, and I want to associate myself with the biggest and the best. And I look forward to working with them and seeing you soon. May Allah bless you all. Thank you.
We did not expect to hear any Q&A, and with the final word, may Allah bless you all, Mike Tyson walking off the podium. And so he says he will fight again. His managers will continue to be John Horn and Rory Holloway, two close personal friends of Tyson. Perhaps the most significant announcement that Don King will indeed continue to promote Mike Tyson's fights, as Tyson called him the greatest promoter in the world. He also will intend to do business with the Showtime Network and with the MGM Grand Hotel. And no announcements about personal plans, but Tyson will fight again and King will promote. Let's now on ESPN take you back to Family Circle Tennis.
Jerome Jurenovich, Headline Sports. Mike Tyson spoke publicly for the first time since being released from prison. And in a written statement, the former heavyweight champ said he is headed back to the ring. Jerome Jurinovich, Headline Sports. Mike Tyson spoke publicly for the first time since being released from prison. He's not only returning to the ring, but he's keeping Don King as his promoter.
Former world heavyweight boxing champ Mike Tyson will fight again. Tyson announced his plans just a short while ago. He answered no questions and quickly walked off stage after reading a statement. Here is the statement.
In the last 3 years, I have had the chance to reflect on my life and develop my mind, and I will continue my journey to making myself a better person so that I can help others. But I'm here today to make a statement about my professional future. There's been a lot of speculation about my plans, and here they are. I will fight again, and I want to confirm John Horn and Roy Holloway as my managers. And besides being my closest friends for many years, John and Roy has given me great advice in my professional career, and they will continue to be my managers. I also will confirm that Don King will continue to promote my fight. Don is the greatest promoter in the world, as we know, and I have chosen Showtime to be my television network. I have enjoyed my relationship with them both as a boxer and as a boxing commentator. I decided also to fight with the new MGM Grant, and I want to associate myself with the biggest and the best. And I look forward to working with them and seeing you soon. May Allah bless you all. Thank you.
Tyson was released from an Indiana prison on Saturday after serving 3 years for raping a Miss Black America Beauty contestant in '91. He still has 4 years of probation to serve.
I'm Dave Cotton with Headline Sports. Former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson made his first public appearance this afternoon since being released from prison Saturday. At a news conference at Gund Arena in Cleveland, Tyson read a prepared statement regarding the business aspects of his boxing comeback, including the fate of promoter Don King.
In the last 3 years, I have had the chance to reflect on my life and develop my mind, and I will continue my journey to making myself a better person. I also will confirm that Don King will continue to promote my fight. Don is the greatest promoter in the world, as we know, and I have chosen Showtime to be my television network. I have enjoyed my relationship with them both as a boxer and as a boxing commentator. I decided also to fight with the new MGM Grant, and I want to associate myself with the biggest and the best. And I look forward to working with them and seeing you soon. May Allah bless you all. Thank you.
In all, the statement lasted only a little over a minute. The former champ did not take questions, as you can see, so no word yet on whom his first fight will be against or when.
Extraordinary scenes in Las Vegas today as Iron Mike Tyson meets the public for the first time since his release from prison. He acts like a politician. They act like he's a rock star. Check it out. The cameras were out. The people were waiting. What star, what legend, what hero was in their midst? Aha, Mike Tyson, a man who's gone from rapist to role model. He was the picture of a man of leisure today, strolling with his babe, Monica Turner. Yes, Tyson's back and ready to rumble in Sin City.
Mike, can I get the picture with my boy? Right on. This man's a good guy. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Who cares that he spent 3 years in the slammer? Less than 2 weeks after getting out, he still got guards, not to keep him in, but to keep the people out, as Mike strolled through MGM's Grand Adventures theme park.
Back up, please. The MGM Grand has great entertainment here. The theme park is outstanding. We've never seen anything like it in all the places, in all the countries I've been. My kids, it's a good thing here because my kids now are upstate and they're knocked out cold and they won't be able to bother me for another couple of hours now. Now I can browse around and go shopping. And we're having a grand day here.
You've come a long way, Mike, from champ to champ again. And where else but Las Vegas could a convicted rapist roll the dice and come out a winner? Tyson's tour of the theme park was all part of his 2.5-year, 6-fight, multi-million-dollar deal with the MGM Grand.
There has been a Mike Tyson sighting, and what a shock his new employer's camera crew just happened to capture it. This is handout tape from the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino Company showing Mike having a good time at their Grand Adventures theme park. Smile, Mike. We are receiving way too much Mike Tyson news, even if he is, as he is, a distant cousin of mine.